Hello, everybody, and we are on episode 8 of Bungo Stray Dogs, the rule of 8. So, my big rule of 8 is that usually the 8th episode of a 10 to 13 episode series is a really good one. It's always one that's either setting up, getting ready to set up the final arc of the season that's going to tie into the climax, or it's like a standalone episode that's really good. But I've never gone wrong with the 8th episode of a 10 to 13 episode series. I've never gone wrong with it. And so I'm really excited to watch this episode today. Before I did though, I do want to talk about last episode. I loved it. I loved Fitzgerald. I loved the fact that we got into his ability. It was great. And we got into him like rising up from the slums back to wealth and prosperity. But speaking of which, I've not talked about Louisa or her ability. I didn't talk about her with the guild because back in season 2 because we didn't really know what her power fully did. I like her ability a lot. I like the caveat that she has to be by herself in a room. Nobody else can be there in order for her to use her ability because it's slowing down time. I like the aspects of it, the mechanics of it, where it's not that she goes and like has this super ability to gather research. It's literally that time slows down, giving her enough time to research. I like that ability because it establishes Louisa is actually a smart person and she's not relying on her wits, but that her ability allows her to have more time to put those wits into effect. I like it. It's kind of like it relates her more to Ranpo and Poe, which I really like too. I like that she's kind of maybe not on the deduction level because she establishes she's not a detective. She's not doing deduction like Ranpo and Poe are, but she is smart like them. So that's really cool. So I looked up her ability. It's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. It was written between 1868 and 1869 and published over the course of 2 volumes. So it's a big novel. I remember reading it in 3rd grade. I was a really big reader when I was a kid, and so I read a lot of books that I was probably not old enough to really understand. And I remember in 3rd grade, I found Little Women and I read it. Like it took me all semester in 3rd grade, all fall to read it. And I don't remember anything about it because it was 3rd grade. So, it was about the 4 March sisters. I do remember that. And so it talks about them going from childhood to womanhood. So a big passage of time happens. So I think that's really cool that the ability slows down time, much like in the novel, you get to go through time with these girls. So that's a kind of a cool callback. And it's sort of a semi-autobiographical novel. So that's really neat too, that this is Louisa's ability just for herself. Nobody else can be around when she uses it. Kind of like Louisa writing the novel. Nobody else really contributed to it. It was her own autobiographical work. So that's pretty cool. I was glad to look up Louisa's ability. There wasn't too much on it other than what we saw in the last episode, but I thought that was pretty neat. So this episode, The Masked Assassin, it seems like a standalone episode, but it seems like it's its own thing. Maybe we're tying back to the story. Finally, the last couple episodes, Fitzgerald Rising was a standalone story, but it felt like it was its own thing. It didn't really connect back to the plot we've established with Fyodor. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's going to tie all back in. We do have Lucy over at the ADA working in the coffee shop and Poe's over there, so maybe it's all going to tie back in. And it looks like Fitzgerald's reassembling his own guild there in Japan, so why not? But there's still so many questions going into this 8th episode of the season. We're nearing the final 4th of the season, or at least the final 3rd we're nearing, and I still don't know about that darn cat. We still haven't seen Natsumi. There's still some interesting things with the president and Mori that we've not gotten into. Fyodor hasn't made an official move yet. He's got the Book of Abilities, and we haven't really kept up. We've had Atsushi and Kunikita and them doing like little missions with Higuchi and stuff, but it hasn't been anything really tied to the plot. So I'm curious if all these little side stories are all going to lead into the final climax of this season. So interesting, right? So we shall see. We shall see. I will go ahead and let y'all know that when this season is over, I am going to watch Bungo Stray Dogs 1. I'm going to watch 1. I watched Modao Q, the Chibi series from Modao. I have seen off-screen Ruby Chibi for Ruby, and so I like the Chibi series, so I'm definitely going to watch Bungo Stray Dogs 1. I'm pretty excited. So yeah, that'll be coming up, and that'll be pretty cool. But in the meantime, I'm really curious to see what this episode is about, and to see if it's going to be a standalone thing or if it's going to tie back to the series as a whole. So let's find out, shall we? We are going to start episode 8 of season 3, and we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, And let's go. Oh my gosh. Well, nope, this was not a standalone episode. This is leading us straight into the climax, the final arc of the season. Damn it. Oh no. I've been shipping Mori and the president, and a red string of fate is why I wanted connecting them, not a cannibalistic virus. What? So this episode was bonkers. I'm really hoping Rompo, my heart, him being devastated, the president being, he got me so emotionally. Rompo, just sitting over the president's bed, so sad because he loves the president so much. I'm like, oh honey, I felt so bad for Rompo in this, but I'm hoping Rompo wasn't in there with them. So I'm like, maybe they can talk to the Port Mafia and be like, look, because here's the thing. We've established Fyodor is a liar. Fyodor is a liar. So sure, it may be that this virus connecting Mori and the president is depleting their life energy or whatever, depleting their life, both of them. It may be the case. But how do we know that killing the other is going to save the other? How do we know that's even possible? Because what happens if they kill Mori-san and the president dies anyway? Or how do we not know that it doesn't do the opposite, that killing the other person will automatically kill the other one? Maybe it's tying them both together and something has to happen to save them both. But I don't trust Fyodor, for one. I don't trust him. He's too devious, and he lied so easily back in episode 4 that I'm like, I don't trust him at all. So, also, friggin' Hawthorne getting tinkered with. That was freaky. When he told Octagawa, who are you? I was like, oh God. That was very cool. Another callback to Dead Apple. Dazai with the apple. Very, very, very creepy. So yeah, this episode, Fyodor's just, he pulled a Joker from The Dark Knight. He pulled a Joker being in the cop uniform, sneaking up on Mori to stab him. Oh my gosh. So, what comes after knowing the evil within? It's like, yeah, knowing, and Fyodor wants this. So Fyodor wants the book, the same that Fitzgerald wanted it. Fitzgerald wanted it to bring his daughter back, and Fyodor wants it to destroy the gifted and change the world. But I'm like, you're gifted, dude. So he wants to go all Death Note style on this. It makes sense. I was telling Dazai to shut up. I'm like, quit saying you figured it out. But it all makes sense because Ranpo and Octagawa, they all figured it out too, right? Well, Octagawa figured it out on his own. That it was also, that the blood manipulation, it ties back to Hawthorne and hiding the blood, making it look invisible so it looks like you're shooting air, and then doing the whole poison and everything. I'm curious how he got the ability on the knife and on that to poison both the president and Mori. I'm wondering how that looks in the manga. But yeah, crazy. So Hawthorne is no longer Hawthorne, and I'm assuming Margaret's dead. Dang. I want to read the manga now to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, because the manga so far has had a lot of different extra scenes added to it, some of which have been very creepy. Like, I don't know if I've talked about this in a previous reaction, but in volume 5, it's talking about season 2. It's talking about when the lemon bombs, it's that episode early on in season 2, and you find out in the manga that they just took the assassin and they cut him open, put lemon bombs in his corpse, and sewed his corpse back up with lemon bombs, and then gave it to Margaret and Nathaniel. It's creepy as hell. I've got it on my Twitter page. It's creepy and disturbing, and I'm like, manga, you didn't have to go that dark. So I'm wondering how dark this gets in the manga. But yeah, I also like how the president, he's always like, if your target's anyone but me, but only me, I'm going to have to stop you. So the president's like, y'all can target me as much as you want. And he said that back in season 2. But if you hurt anybody I know or care about, then I'm going to have to take some action. So it's like, interesting. So, but yeah, the president getting stabbed, getting poisoned. What the heck? So yeah, skip this opening here. So Dazai suggesting that the Port Mafia, I like that Dazai is thinking like Mori in this. We've had a lot of callbacks to Mori and Dazai in this season, And it's interesting that Dazai's like, well, we know that whoever's doing these attacks, the biggest threat is going to be to the Port Mafia, because Port Mafia, a lot of their members are gifted and they rely on gifted members. And so, of course, they're going to have a vested interest in all of this. And so the question is, who's going to attack back first? Is it going to be the ADA or the Port Mafia? And Dazai, him and Mori on the same wavelength. Whoever attacks first wins. So, of course, it's going to be the Port Mafia. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Dazai's doing his own investigation. But here's the thing, it all came back. Dazai's been going off on his own this whole time, and it's been okay. But I forget that Yasano can't heal Dazai at all. If she touches him, his power will just... his power is going to nullify it. So Dazai's biggest weakness is that he's human. His power is no longer human, but he's the most human out of all of them. He is the most mortal. And that's insane. So yeah, Sniper getting him and Fyodor ordering them to not hit any vital organs. I'm like, I don't know if Fyodor underestimates Dazai because he knew Dazai from Dead Apple. So I don't know. I love the shot of all the Port Mafia members with the glowing red eyes. And they're all slits except for Motojiro, whose shades are like, he looks like Cyclops off of X-Men. And then freaking Elise Chan with like those dead Lovecraft eyes in the corner. God, so we finally got to see Mori. Maybe I'll get to look up Mori now since we've seen his ability kind of in action. Maybe we're going to get to see that. We'll see. I might wait a little bit before I look him up, but I really want to look him up. So yeah, just this episode being crazy and like it just being this big cat and mouse. Literally with Fyodor in the House of the Dead Rats. It's nice to see Geen back in action with her mask and hair up. And then playing tag. So then we cut back to Mori, who has Elise Chan, the strangest thing in the world. And then he has a bag that says Chanel. I'm like, why'd you go to Chanel? And it's like a play on Chanel, but it's clearly what it's supposed to be. I could die happy right now if you came with me. I'm very curious about Elise as an ability. She's so strange, and I'm wondering to get more into the manga with her. But it's almost like she's an extension of him. Kind of like in Bleach, Yatoro and Kenpachi. She's kind of like an extension of him. Which is funny, because back a few episodes ago when she was saying, you suck. And it's like, is that him being self-loathing? But also, she's an extension of him, but she's also part of his like subconscious. But he says he likes little girls, which is... it's like the one irredeemable quality of Mori. I love Mori's character to no end. But that's the one aspect of him I'm like, gross. But I'm just like, she's such a weird character. Elise is so creepy and weird. And then him getting in the car with her. And then it blowing up and her saving him. Insanity. So then, yeah, Dazai making the connection. So she can apparently float. Fly through the air. And save him. But here's the thing. She saved him and made him rise above the car, saying this seriously sucks. And then he said, I can't breathe. Thank you, but I can't breathe. And then she dropped him and let him down. So, while her ability is being used, can he not breathe? Does he have to hold his breath while using her ability? Is that it? Maybe because she was holding his collar and it was choking him. I bet that's what it is. She was holding his collar and it was choking him and cutting off his air, and that's why he said he couldn't breathe. Gotcha. But yeah, and of course she just drops him. She doesn't even give him time to react. Also, Akutagawa, I realized after this season, especially after last episode and the episode before it, I've really come to like Akutagawa's character a lot. I've really come to like Akutagawa. My opinion of him has changed so much from the first season to this last season. I really like Akutagawa now. And him just, his billowing black Rashomon coat, fluttering beautifully in the breeze. Most fashionable character of Bungo Stray Dogs, him and Geen. Tell you what. And then I like that he's like, give him a good bite. Whoever they found the assassin, give him a good bite. Like he's a stray dog, right? Uh-huh. And Mori just looks so fiendish about that. The first to make a move always wins. And yeah, Mori and Fyodor, they look so similar. But yeah, it's crazy. And so then, yeah, this cop shows up. And it's Fyodor. So the cop coming up. And everybody's taking pictures of the accident and everything. So there's a crowd of gawkers and people standing by. so that he could easily escape into the crowd after he stabbed him, making it hard for Elise to find him. But yeah, oh my God. And then yeah, he pulled his hair up into the hat. And my daughter just put some orange juice in the gas tank. I'm like, and Elise being so upset about that. She's like, excuse me? Oh my God. Like his excuses of trying to explain Elise's thing is just amazing. Oh my gosh. But then yeah, I would never have known this was Fyodor. Would not have seen it coming. And then yeah, that's a problem. And then yeah, he does the knife thing. And then Mori's like, tries to bitch slap him. And then yeah, and then he recognized Fyodor, and Fyodor Naruto runs into that crowd. And then Elise-chan like goes to find him, but of course he intentionally did that so he could get lost and she couldn't immediately find him. Man, planning a step ahead. And Mori realizes it. And then, yeah, red string of fate, tying all our president and Mori together. I wanted to ship them together, but not like this, right? I don't like that at all. I want Natsumi to come and save them because he seems to be the connector between them both. Can we do that? Can we have him save him? So yeah, again, I like that Akutagawa and where he's facing Hawthorne. They were established back in season 2 that they're really good. They're a good matchup because their powers are somewhat similar. But yeah, Hawthorne, poor guy. Like he's just been brainwashed. Like he's just been totally manipulated. And it's crazy. The moment he told Akutagawa, "Who are you?" and Akutagawa's like, "What?" That was just really, really freaky. Because Akutagawa, being somewhat of a poet, when Hawthorne was saying that he needs the book to revive a loved one, that was what Fitzgerald wanted the book for. So originally, when he first said that, I was like, wait, what? But he wants to revive Margaret. And so Akutagawa, Akutagawa says, well, that's really poetic of you and beautiful. So Akutagawa does care about people. Not Atsushi, not the were-tiger, supposedly. But he does care about people. Obviously, since we've established that his sister is Gin, I wonder if that's like letting us, the audience, know that Akutagawa does care about people, specifically his family and those he's close to. He just claims that he hates the were-tiger, but we all know that that's not the case. You said this is for the resurrection of your beloved, so you're doing this for that woman. Yeah. And then he's like, the woman I defeated in combat at the port. And then, yeah, just, you, who are you? Freaky stuff. And then, yeah, Dazai showing up. See, Dazai showing up cocky with the apple and his hat. And I really thought that Dazai, I didn't know what to expect. I thought he was just going to walk away or they were going to fight or something, but nope. He has him sniped. And the hat getting back was the signal. Oh, man. Dazai, dude. I'm like, you thought 2 steps ahead, and Fyodor, he was just 1 more step ahead of you. It's like... And then Dazai's like, oh, you'll tell me about the poison. And Fyodor's like, yeah, after I snipe you, I will. So, they established that this book is a single volume. Which, as soon as they said that, I instantly thought back to Natsumi telling Oda about the 3-volume book back in season 2 in the Dark Age. And so he also said you have a knack to be a writer. So for a second, I was like, okay, was Natsumi thinking about giving Oda... Does Natsumi have the book? And he was thinking about giving it to Oda? That would have been crazy. Oda would have been a good choice to give it to because he would have used it, for good. He'd been like the only one of this crew that probably would have, used it without any problems. But I don't know. Natsumi has a part in all this. He's been in the OP. He's got a part in this, and that stupid cat has a part in this. They're not in this episode, of course. But I'm curious, and Katai wasn't in this episode as well, so I'm wondering if Katai is going to maybe get involved in all this too. He's going to get called in. But yeah, so this book that can apparently grant it's like Death Note. It can let you do, only in Death Note, isn't it? I've not watched Death Note, but it's like anything you write in the book, it kills, right? Any name you write in the book. So anything you write in this book, it's kind of like Dappo Poet's ability too. Anything you write in the book, only his is like, it becomes that object that's as big as the book, and this is going to let anything happen. So Fyodor says he's going to write out all the gifted and create a better world. It's like, okay. And this poison is a cannibalizing ability. So I'm wondering if that's tying back to Dead Apple, the ability that he kept one of the abilities that the old dragon dude had stole that was in the gym. If Fyodor managed to nab one of them abilities and take with him, and this is the one he's using for this whole thing. It would seem like that. And of course, Mori gets red and the president gets blue because that's the color coordination we have in all this. A minuscule supernatural life form grows to maturity in 48 hours. Just a minor parasitic thing, and eats through the host's body. No big deal. Like, oh God. The only way to stop it is if one of the hosts dies and the ability stops. But again, how do we know he's not lying? How do we know he's not lying? So yeah, I mean, this is a brilliant plan for Fyodor, because you're getting the two groups to fight each other and destroy each other. That's going to make your job that much easier, right? Because then you just storm in the special ops and do whatever. Well, the only groups we're not taking into account, we're not taking into account Fitzgerald and the new guild, and we're not taking into account the special ops. So, interesting. I like that we cut to the Port Mafia, and Koyo is the one that's trying to rationalize, and she's like, okay, look, we need to be thinking about this. We need to, this is, if we do what the enemy wants us to do, we're playing right into their hands. We need to think about this. And Chuya, meanwhile, is like, let's just pummel Fyodor. I'm like, I would love to see Chuya pummel Fyodor, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. But yeah, Koyo is also not in the group that attacks at the very end, I don't believe. I think she stayed behind to make sure everything in the Port Mafia stayed okay. But I like that concern. We've established throughout since episode 1 of this season, which I'm glad we've got the flashback arc, the 15 arc, to kind of explain Chuya's motivations. That's why we needed the flashback. We needed the 15 arc to explain why Chuya is so dead set on helping to keep Mori alive. Because in the 15 arc, it was established that Chuya is extremely loyal to the people he follows, and he'll do nearly anything to protect them. And Mori being one of them, he's going to try, and being his boss, he's going to try to protect him. And then Fyodor says people are sinful and foolish, and they can't help but kill each other. Which, yes, you get what he's saying. Someone must cleanse them of that sin, and I seek the book. But it's like, there's always light versus darkness, right? I can't believe they shot him. I can't believe they shot Dazai. Here's the thing. I said back in episode 4, I'm like, Fyodor is not afraid to kill people. Dazai will probably not kill you unless you do something really, really bad. But Fyodor don't care. He's like, nah, I'm going to kill you. And he intentionally didn't hit his vitals. Which he could have. He could have killed Dazai right then and there. And he said, you were two of a kind. We're just the same, but there's one difference. Uh-huh. And then Dazai says, to the way we think. And Fyodor's like, yeah, so? You're right that people are all sinful and foolish. But that's what makes them great. And it's like, but isn't that what's so great? And then, yeah, it's amazing because it's like Dazai, back in the beginning of season 3, Dazai was speculating what's the purpose of living. He's like, if people are sinful and foolish, what's the point of living? If people are like that. And now it's like, it's his motivation and it's almost like he's found a reason for living. He's like, yeah, people are sinful and foolish. And that's what's so great about it, is that life's not flawless. It has problematic elements and we've just got to navigate it. It's like a big puzzle, a big mystery. And it's like Dazai's found that will live, which I was glad that Dazai has. It's ironic that Dazai's talking about, oh my God, yeah, it's ironic that our suicidal maniac is talking about the benefits of people being alive despite their sinfulness and foolishness as he's been sniped. Our guy that's wanted to die this entire series is intentionally fighting for his life. It's like, oh my God. This episode is so good, but it's so crazy. And then, yeah. And then, oh my God. Seeing Ranpo over the edge of the bed looking sad, I don't want to see that ever again, because that's the most tragic thing. And him like just with his hands holding his hands like he's praying for the president. I can't. I physically, no. I don't want to see that ever again. That's so awful. And Kunikita and them being there. And then, yeah, oh my God. So everybody's showing up. Chuya on a warpath, just stomping his way with his gravity powers towards them. Oh my God. And then, yeah, Ranpo, my sweetheart Ranpo. Kunikita, because Kunikita, we established in the OVA, is going to be the successor to the president eventually. And it all makes sense that he would do that he'd be the successor. But he's struggling during this moment of panic. Like, what do we do? What can we do other than fight the Port Mafia? What are our options? And I love that Ranpo, he just walks out. He's like, get a grip and stay calm. You are the president's apprentice. It's like Levi's voice actor playing Ranpo. It's like, having this epic moment. The president told us to get a grip, and Yasana's like, oh, he regained consciousness? And Ranpo's like, no, I just knew it. That I could hear him. He's trying, and you can see his eye twitching. You can see the president's eye twitching, like it's like he's willing them, like, keep going, guys. And Ranpo's like, I'll do whatever we can, we gotta do this. It's like, I love it. I love him so much. So then, yeah, we get all the big confrontation at the end. Yeah, and so it's everybody. Koyo's not there. She stayed behind. But it's the Black Lizard and then Chuya. Damn. And I love that Chuya's always crouching. He's like, here's the thing. Chuya's really short to begin with. So to look more intimidating, if Chuya were standing up, he'd be like the shortest one there, like the same level as Geen. But to make himself look more intimidating, he like crouches down to the ground. Like a feral wild animal, as Dazai called him. I love that profile of him with the coat. I love when he has the coat strung over his shoulders and the hat. And then we don't get to see what the plan is. And Chuya's like, are we doing this one by one or all at once? I don't mind either way. Oh, but I'm like, there has to be a third solution, right? Right? This episode was really, really good. But I'm like, I don't want the president more. I don't want either of them to die. To be honest, there has to be a third way. There has to be another option. I'm like, can you find the user that has the ability and kill them? And then if they die, the ability dies too? Or like Dead Apple is an ability that he just stole that the user was already dead. So it doesn't matter. This episode was really good, but I don't know, where do we go to from here? And we have episode 9, 10, 11, and 12. We have 4 episodes left of the season. So if you've not watched my other reactions, I have a rule of 8. And I talked about the beginning of the reaction. But basically, in a typical narrative, you have a 3-act structure. You have beginning, middle, and end. And usually in a 12-episode series, you can divvy it up really easily. Episodes 1 through 4 is your first act. Episodes 5 through 8 are your second act. And episodes 9 through 12 is your final act. So at the end of episode 8, at the end of this episode, by that point you've set up the conflict that your climax is going to address, and you're getting all the pieces in play. And either usually the characters are at their lowest point, or they're starting to spring into action from that lowest point. And it looks like our characters are pretty much at a low point right now. So these next 4 episodes are all going to be building towards the climax of it. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. But y'all, this episode was good, but Fyodor, you have my attention. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. I'm more excited to read the manga, actually, because y'all have said that Fyodor is great in the manga, and that it's still ongoing, and him and Dazai are playing mind games. So I guess Dazai's going to live, right? I assume Dazai's going to live. Dazai's not going to die. They're not going to kill Dazai off. He's like one of the main characters. But the question is, this whole bullet thing is going to incapacitate him. And that's the problem. Dazai's been our crux for like the whole series. If something goes wrong, you can always depend on Dazai to show up, and he's going to be 3 steps ahead, and whether he's working with Ranpo or not, he's going to help solve the problem. But if Dazai's out of the picture, then what do we do? Then it's up to everybody else has to kind of be on their own. So we'll see, I guess. So I'm curious to know everybody's thoughts about this episode. This is a good episode to lead us up into the final arc of the season. I can't believe we're already here. I can't believe we only have 4 episodes of the season left. Sad face indeed. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, won't we? In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. As I'm recording this, it's going to air on Patreon on Halloween, so happy Halloween. And then it'll be the first Sunday of November for everybody on YouTube. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, color me intrigued. I don't know what we're going to do with this whole cannibalism virus, but I'm pretty darn excited to find out. So we'll see next week with more Bungo Stray Dogs. Bye.